Not because something mysterious is happening in a cinematic sense, but because in one of the world's most congested and strategically sensitive waterways, small irregularities in tracking, routing, and timing can create patterns that look strange if you don't understand what you're seeing. And here's the real consequence if you ignore it. You don't just misunderstand the data, you misread risk, timing, and movement in one of the most critical shipping corridors on the planet. But if you stay with me through this breakdown, you'll walk away with a clearer, calmer way to interpret these so-called anomalies. Avoid misinformation traps and understand what actually matters versus what is just noise. Let's go step by step. Hat 1 Phase 1. Understanding the environment before you analyze anything. Step 1. Identify the real operating zone of the Strait of Hormuz before you interpret any anomaly. You need to understand where it's happening. The Strait of Hormuz is not an open ocean. It's a narrow choke point connecting the Persian Gulf to the Arabian Sea. Why it matters. Congestion alone creates irregular movement patterns that look suspicious on tracking maps. What can go wrong if skipped? You'll misinterpret normal traffic compression as unusual behavior. Pro tip, always compare movement patterns to baseline shipping density maps, not isolated vessel tracks. STAS 2. Understand traffic layering, not single movement. This area handles commercial tankers, naval patrols, and regional traffic simultaneously. Why it matters. Overlapping signals can distort AIS data readings. What can go wrong? You assume interference or ghost ships when it's actually layered traffic density. Insider detail. Vessels often slow or adjust speed due to convoy spacing rules, not emergencies. STASIS 3. Learn what normal delay behavior looks like. Ships in choke points rarely move at constant speed. Why it matters. Speed fluctuations are standard due to queuing and channel coordination. What can go wrong? You interpret routine slowing as mechanical failure or hidden activity. Pro tip. Most commercial tankers build buffer time into schedules specifically for this region. Hat 2 Phase 2. Reading anomalies without falling into false signals. Step 1. Distinguish AIS gaps from real disappearance. AIS tracking can drop temporarily due to signal obstruction, intentional privacy settings, or coastal interference. Why it matters. A missing ship is often just a missing signal, not a missing vessel. What can go wrong? You assume extraordinary activity where there is only a data blind spot. Insider detail. Mountainous coastal terrain and signal congestion can create frequent short gaps. STAS 2. Analyze rerouting behavior correctly. Ships sometimes deviate slightly from expected paths. Why it matters. Rerouting is often due to weather, traffic control, or maritime advisories. What can go wrong? You assume political or military escalation without evidence. Pro tip. Check if multiple vessels show the same deviation pattern. This usually signals navigation guidance, not randomness. Stop 3. Watch speed clustering, not individual speed spikes. Multiple ships slowing or accelerating together is more meaningful than a single ship's movement. Why it matters. Clustering indicates external constraints like lane coordination. What can go wrong? You overreact to isolated speed changes that are completely normal. Insider detail. Convoy-style spacing rules can create synchronized movement patterns that look engineered. Phase 3. Identifying real operational triggers behind strange patterns. Step 1. Correlate movement changes with known shipping advisories. Why it matters. Maritime authorities frequently update routing guidance in this corridor. What can go wrong? You miss official explanations and jump to incorrect assumptions. Pro tip, always check maritime notices before interpreting unusual traffic shifts. STAS 2. Factor in military presence without exaggeration. The region has regular naval patrol activity from multiple countries. Why it matters. Increased patrol density can slightly alter commercial routing. What can go wrong? You interpret standard security presence as abnormal escalation, insider detail. Most commercial vessels adjust behavior subtly, not dramatically, in response to patrol zones. STOTS 3. Recognize communication congestion affects high traffic areas can delay data updates between vessel and tracking systems. Why it matters. Delayed updates create ghost drift effects on maps. What can go wrong? You think a vessel changed course instantly when it actually updated late. Pro tip. Always compare timestamp consistency, not just position snapshots. 4 Phase 4. Separating real risk from visual distortion. Step 1. Check consistency over time, not snapshots. Why it matters. A single moment in time can be misleading. What can go wrong? You overreact to one abnormal frame of data. Pro tip. Track at least 30 to 60 minutes of movement history before drawing conclusions. STOS 2. Compare multiple data sources. Why it matters. AIS, radar, and satellite feeds don't always match perfectly. What can go wrong? Relying on one source creates false confidence in incomplete data. Insider detail. Discrepancies between systems are common in high-density shipping zones. STOS 3. Understand environmental distortion factors. Why it matters. Weather, signal bounce, and coastal reflection can distort tracking accuracy. What can go wrong? You interpret technical noise as intentional behavior. Pro tip. Fog and heat haze conditions can reduce tracking precision significantly in this region. FOT 5 Phase 5. What experienced analysts actually do differently. Step 1. They filter out nudge patterns first. Why it matters. Most anomalies disappear when you remove known interference factors. What can go wrong? Beginners treat every irregularity as meaningful. Pro tip. Experienced analysts mentally classify 70% of anomalies as environmental noise first. STOT 2. They look for repetition, not drama. Why it matters. Real operational changes repeat across multiple vessels and timeframes. What can go wrong? Focusing on dramatic one-off events leads to misinformation, insider detail. True systemic changes leave consistent traces across several days, not minutes. STOT 3. They prioritize context over visuals. Why it matters. Maps look dramatic even when behavior is normal. What can go wrong? Visual interpretation overrides factual reasoning. Pro tip. Always ask, what would cause this normally? Before assuming something unusual. Traps to avoid now. Let's talk about the most common traps that distort understanding in this region. First, assuming that every tracking gap is intentional concealment. Most are technical limitations. Second, overinterpreting small route deviations as strategic movement changes. In most cases, it's logistics, not hidden intent. Third, trusting screenshots over time-based analysis. A single frame can mislead you completely. Fourth, ignoring congestion effects. This is one of the busiest maritime corridors in the world, and congestion alone creates irregular patterns. If you avoid these traps, your interpretation becomes dramatically more accurate and far less reactive. Closing. What you've seen here is not about finding hidden stories where none exist. It's about learning how to read complex maritime environments without being misled by noise, gaps, or visual distortions. And now I want to ask you something directly. Have you ever seen a ship tracking pattern or maritime map that looked strange at first, but later turned out to have a simple explanation?